There we go. Sorry about that. But here we are. Set up the chat. Sorry that I've been kind of absent, guys, but we've had some studio issues, and obviously, you know, if I don't have a studio to teach out of, well, it's kind of an issue. So, but we're back now, and I've got you. As far as I know, tonight is the last class, or today is the last class. Let me share this link over real quick in the group chat so that we can copy. We're going to copy that. I'm going to share this over in the group chat so that you guys can get onto it. Also send it out to Jennifer so she can get on. Just 1 second, sorry. Oh, let's see. We'll send it here. And paste and send. So now we're here. Let me get into here. Sorry. Copy this link. Send it to Jen. Copy. And we're going to send this out to the whole community. Announcement. Super awesome home group. And we're going to go ahead and paste. Going to return. Here is the link to the live. Send. Okay, that should be sent out to you guys. Looks like we're just going to wait a little bit so that everybody can get into the live stream. Looks like we've got one so far, but want to make sure everybody can come in. Remember, we've got comments, so make sure that you comment below and let me know if you can hear this well, if the sound is good for you, because that's what we want. We want some good sound. I also want to make sure that you can engage properly. Obviously, this is going to be one that is pretty important that we have good sound, because I've got a couple graphics I'm going to be producing. Since this is the last lesson, we're going to go over some stuff. I have a new series for you called Brain Food, so that's also going to help you. And yeah, so let's wait a couple more minutes for everybody and see what we've got. Do 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 do. Yeah, feel free to comment how your day's going as well, and how are you dealing with the coronavirus. Obviously, things are getting a little whack, even from my perspective as far as delivering the content to you guys. So I'm curious to see how everything else has been affected by that. But we'll wait one more minute for everybody to kind of get into the chat, and then we will continue. Continue with the instruction. Yeah, do 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 do. Dun 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 dun. Ba dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Okay, well, let me get the camera on here and then we'll get started, guys. So, get that off and fade in. Okay, well, welcome to the last week of our live stream and the last week of our homeschool co-op dance class. Super sad. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. We're going to be going over, I'm not going to, again, individually review anything because, again, we have that all available to you just through those videos that have been posted. So we're just going to make sure that you have the knowledge that you need, but also that I send you off just with some general knowledge on dancing and how it's going to relate to your life, because that's the most important thing to understand out of all of this. Of course, we can teach steps all day long, but if you don't have a purpose for utilizing those steps in the community, then in my opinion, I haven't done my job correctly, because that's what we really want. Is we want you to feel confident in engaging with the community in a way that is dance oriented, and that's kind of the whole purpose of really doing any of this. So. Other than having fun, of course, which I'm sure you had. So we're just going to be going over kind of verbally, running through everything that we've gone over. Of course, we have West Coast Swing. It's going to be a very beneficial dance for you. You also have your Nightclub Two-Step. That one's a great dance for you. We repeated waltz this semester, and we also taught the tango. Okay, so a pretty diverse bag of dances. I know that we dealt with some Lindy Hop last time. We dealt with some salsa last time. We dealt with waltz again. And we want to make sure that we just continue that line of thought. Where can we take the dances that we're using, and how can we utilize all of them in order to create a good experience, okay? By the way, we are producing some more videos and launching an entire new network of social dance. It's called Social Dance Theory. That's hosted specifically by me. I just felt the need to be able to reach out and have a more global impact. So of course, Crossway Ballroom handles a lot of community stuff, but I'm kind of reaching out and producing some live shows and also some programs that people can sign up for that are more oriented towards getting the world to dance and understanding that, okay? So let's go into our first lesson as far as brain food goes, okay? So this is kind of a new series that I created for you guys, and the first thing that we need to look at is the topic, okay? So the topic this week is going to be on the slot. Now, the slot is specifically used in your salsa and your West Coast swing. Of course, we're going to focus from a West Coast swing perspective today. And we're going to talk about how the slot interrelates with everything else. Okay, so just to define the slot in a physical space real quick, if I step back in front of the camera and I take these two steps, okay, I have got these stools, and these stools are gonna represent my slot here, okay? So this slot's super important because guess what? This allows us to keep our dance compact. If I'm doing my salsa, boom, boom, bop, boom to boom, bop, right? I've got my slot focused in so that I can dance within my own kind of realm here, and I'm not interrupting anybody else's dancing. Okay? Same thing with West Coast Swing. If I'm going walk, walk, triple step, I'm allowing myself to stay in the slot and produce kind of like, again, that compact motion so that other people can stack on top, okay? So this is gonna be our physical representation of the slot as we go through this little series here. Now, the first thing that we're gonna do, as with all brain food graphics, is we're gonna relate to life, first of all, okay? So the quote that I've chosen for you is gonna be, everyone has their own lane, and you need to maintain yours. There's less traffic and no speed limit. Now, how that relates to dance specifically is, of course, you've got this slot, right? And you need to maintain your slot. If you don't, then you're gonna crash into other people, right? While you're dancing your salsa or your West Coast, if you've got 4 or 5 other people dancing in the room, you don't maintain your slot and they're counting on that, you're gonna run into them, right? And oftentimes in life, we bump into other people, even if our intentions are good, right? So we need to stay in our own lane. We need to focus on our life. And through focusing on our life, we can, in essence, benefit other people's. There's this concept where if you do your job in the world, right? If you just do what you're kind of here to do, or what you've self-actualized and found your purpose for, then that's going to help out everybody else, because everybody else is doing their job as well, and that makes a world that's worth participating in and has meaning, right? And then the last part of that quote, which is there's less traffic and no speed limit. That's exactly right. When you're muddling in other people's lanes, or if you're letting other people get into your lane, I guess, then there's a lot of traffic. You gotta kind of wade through things that are unnecessary, and you have to deal with problems that might not even be something that you need to worry about, right? And there is no limit to where you can go when you're focusing on your own destiny. Now, does that mean that we don't integrate with the community? Of course we integrate with other people. But like I said before, you serve a purpose, and that purpose is up to you to define, but ultimately that's how it's going to work. So that's kind of a existential concept as to how we go into the slot in dancing, but that's the same thing. If you're getting into other people's space while you're dancing, if you're allowing your dancing to fall out of control and be undisciplined, then you're going to start smacking people in the face, you're going to start stepping on toes, and no one's going to really want to dance with you. They don't want to be out on the floor with you because you're kind of being rude, right? And so you want to keep that slot nice and tight, especially with dances that are highly stylized like salsa and West Coast swing, okay? Now, the slot falls into a larger category of dance shapes, okay? So if we're relating this back to a dance truth, we understand that there are a couple shapes in our dancing, okay? And that being one, the slot, obviously. Then we've got two being the spot, and we've got three being the line of dance. Now, you have experienced dances that all have these elements integrated into them. Of course, we've spent a lot of time in the line of dance. You understand that pretty thoroughly, I would like to think. We've spent a lot of time in the slot, which is also, something that we spend a lot of time in with West Coast swing and with salsa, okay? Something we haven't talked about a lot, though, is the spot. Okay, they kind of go between those two things. So you have a slot, and the slot is elongated. Okay, that's why we call it a slot, is because it goes back and forth, or it's vertical, if you want to think of it like that. But we also have a spot, which indicates that your dance is actually going to rotate. So, for instance, we did the hustle, right? Hustle is a great example of a spot dance. The leader stays in one spot and the follow rotates around him, okay? But the entire partnership never leaves its position on the floor. You could literally line yourself up with an object on the ceiling and dance under that object the entire time while you're rotating and have no problems at all, okay? So that's what we kind of like to think of as a spot dance. Is something that you're rotating in, but you're staying in one spot, okay? And then you have the line of dance. Now, the line of dance is clearly defined as you traveling around the room. And I produced this graphic that has kind of a circle inside of a rectangle because, of course, as you know, there are usually 4 walls in the room that we dance the line of dance in, and then we dance this kind of oval shape within that rectangle, okay, which is what I was kind of demonstrating here. Here's something unique about the line of dance, though. Now that you're traveling, the other 2 dances, you can just hunker down. You can choose where you want to be in the room even to avoid other people, right? So if I'm surveying a room and I think, okay, well, how am I going to get, what position am I going to choose to be noticed, but still not in the middle of people eating or having my butt in their face the entire time or something like that? Well, I'm going to look at the room and I'm going to say, oh, okay, there's this little crevice back in the corner there that I can squeeze into. Or if they've cleared the dance floor, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to get in the middle of the dance floor. Or if there's a lot of people in the middle of the dance floor, you can think, okay, well, there's a kind of a hole in the crowd over there, and I can find that slot or that spot that I want to dance in, and I define that. But the line of dance, we can't really do that. We're continuing down the line of dance the whole time. And therefore, you have this active awareness that you have to integrate with your dancing, right? I have to be careful because now partnerships have turned into vehicles. They've turned into other people who are dancing behind and in front of me and to the side of me. People are going slow and fast. There are other objects in the room that are hindering that. And so when I dance my waltz, my foxtrot, or my tango, I want to be sure, or even other dances such as your country two-step, samba, merengue, they all go in the line of dance. You want to be sure, okay, I'm not running into any of these people. And it's really your job, leads, to make sure that that doesn't happen. The follow is kind of blind, so she's going to follow behind or with you in the partnership, but you need to make sure that you don't lead her into any objects or any people that are within the room, okay? So those are kind of the three. Now, the reason why we have those shapes is because we realized that through the diversity of all the dances that we have, obviously some have certain needs with the shapes that they have. So when you're considering which dances you need to use in the moment, say, you know, with the music playing or whatever, just keep in mind that each of them has a shape that they need to maintain, and that's how you should go about using that dance. I can say that comfortably at a more advanced level because of where we are. Okay, so let's see what we got. That's the last thing. Okay, and the last thing is just kind of mixing this together, okay? So when we consider all of these dance concepts, when we break in the slot and we break in the shapes, this allows us to dance with other people better, okay? This allows us to be within a room of other people and fit together with them, because there's a motto that we use in our program called fit together better, right? And it's this idea that you should be fitting with your partner and you should be fitting with the room, okay? So when you're considering dancing and kind of being respectful in that endeavor and allowing other people to be in the same room as you, just like a roller skate rink or sports in general, you know, anything that's going to require physical activity that you're also participating with other people in, you have to be respectful of that. So the reason why we use the slot is specifically so that we can dance with other people and allow them to be comfortable in their own space as well, okay? Now, kind of moving back to the camera, I'm going to demonstrate a couple physical things with the slot and the spot and line of dance that's going to kind of cap all of this knowledge off for you so that you know how to use it, okay? The first thing, obviously, since we covered the slot so much, keep in mind that the slot, again, is always vertical, okay? So when we're integrating our moves, say we're doing a left side pass or a right side pass or the whip, right? All of those things are going to be moving within this slot. So as a lead, here's what I can do. Let me move the camera up so I can kind of talk to you in the face, okay? As a lead, here's what I can do. I can think, okay, I know I have this slot. And the slot, my job is to establish that immediately, right? So say I establish my slot and you are the slot. Me looking at you, this is the vertical plane that I'm moving on. I establish that and I maintain that through the entire dance. As soon as I lead her onto the floor, I'm saying this is the spot, this is the slot, this is wherever I'm starting, right? Then I can orient my moves from there. So this brings me comfort, right? Because the only two directions that I can really end up facing are either towards you or away from you, okay? So when we're doing any of our moves, we keep that in mind. If I'm doing a left side pass, walk, walk, triple step, right? We know that move gives you a full 180. If I do a right side pass after that, walk, walk, triple step, I'm letting her pass through the slot. That gives me structure to how I'm dancing my West Coast swing. That way I can start adding in more advanced elements such as elasticity, such as swing and sway, things like that, okay? So that's kind of a more advanced explanation of the slot and why the slot exists from a purely practical perspective, okay? Now as far as dancing in a spot, and I'm going to use hustle as an example for this. So if you forgot the hustle, don't worry about it. I'm using it as a larger example. Or we could even use Lindy Hop. Lindy Hop or hustle are two great examples, right? So if I'm doing my hustle, rock, step, march, march, rock, step, march, march. I'm staying in a physical spot on the floor. But what's going to start happening is when I start to rotate, rock, step, march, march, rock, step, march, march, right? No matter how much I rotate, I'm staying within that spot. In fact, let's see if I have something that can demonstrate this a little better so that you can see that I'm not really moving. Let's say that I take this piece of tape, right? I know you can't see what I just did. I went to the drawer and grabbed a piece of tape. Now, if I take this piece of tape and I put it down on the floor, right there, you can see tape is right here, okay? And when I do my basic, I'm always returning to that spot. Boom. When I rotate my basic, I'm still, even though I'm rotating, staying within this spot right here. Okay, so that's a more physical demonstration of what the spot is. Now, what is the lady doing, you might ask? Specifically in hustle, she's rotating around you. Okay, so she has more flexibility with how she integrates with the spot. You can think of her as kind of like a larger square moving around your circumference, right? If you're a circle and she's a square, she's doing all of these other movements, but they're ultimately around the perimeter of the spot that you're dancing within. And then of course we've spent a lot of time with the line of dance explaining that as well, so you know a lot about that. Just keep in mind, again, just to cap off your knowledge with that, you have 4 walls in the line of dance. The one directly to the lead's right is of course called wall. The one directly facing, or whatever you're facing in front of, whatever's in front of you naturally. If you have the wall to the right, then you have your line of dance in front of you. Okay? Then if you look to your left, usually that's the center of the room. Okay? So we call that center. And anything behind you, if granted, taking into consideration all alignments are correct, so you're facing the line of dance, then everything behind you is going to be against line of dance. Okay? So wall, center, line of dance, against line of dance. Now remembering the diagonals. The corner that's right after whatever the alignment is usually called diagonal, whatever that alignment is. So for instance, if I have my wall to my right, the next corner, if I were like a huge clock and I shifted my ticker to the corner, boom, 1/8 turn, that's going to be diagonal wall. Why? Because it is the diagonal of the wall, right? Then we have line of dance. The next corner is going to be oriented towards the center of the room. So what do we call that? We call that the diagonal of the center, right? Then we have center, and then we have 2 alignments that are against line of dance, right? They are alignments that are technically behind us if we're facing the line of dance. So we're going to do whatever they're oriented with. For instance, the next corner after diagonal center is still going to be diagonal center, but now it's against line of dance. So we call that diagonal center against line of dance. And then whatever this corner is, or the last corner that's directly behind me, that's oriented with my wall. And so I'm going to call that diagonal wall, but it's behind me. So I'm going to call it diagonal wall against line of dance. Okay? So just to explain those alignments just once and for all, even though, obviously I kind of tried and failed with that whole screen demonstration, everything like that. That is the official, you can take it to the bank, okay? That's the official way to think of all those alignments and how they integrate with each other. And you can go back and look at the demonstrations on left and right turns and on tango and how all that stuff relates with the line of dance. The last thing is, remember there are 4 lines of dance. Instead of just having one giant oval at first, now we have this rectangle, which is why in that graphic that I had for the brain food series, I put a rectangle with an oval inside of it. Okay? Because you are technically dancing on this continuous oval, but really when you're considering your alignments, the alignments are very rigid, right? They have a very set location that they have to be achieved on, and so you treat that like an angle, okay? So if I'm facing this way, this is my line of dance, but then if I get down to that side of the room and I start facing this way, that's a line of dance. This is a line of dance, and that's a line of dance, right? You have 4 of them because you have 4 walls in a room. Okay? In that line of dance, all you have to do is think, what's directly to my right? My wall. Center, line of dance, against line of dance. If I'm here, what's to my right? My wall. Center, line of dance, against line of dance. If I'm here, so on and so forth. Okay? So keep that in mind. When you're considering the lines of dance, that's a really hard concept, by the way. But you guys are pretty advanced, and so that's where we've kind of gotten to. Don't worry, there's an entire new horizon. If you ever want to learn more from that, just let me know, because obviously, I mean, like I said before, we spent that entire first lesson series kind of getting the foundation in, and now we've just gotten the first kind of line of moves on, but there's 15, 20, 25 moves in each dance that we can take you towards. So all exciting stuff. Okay, so that's kind of capping off the knowledge as far as what I've got for you guys. Okay, we've got the West Coast Swing, we've got the nightclub two-step, we've got tango, and we've got waltz. You got 2 semesters with waltz, so you really got that one down, I hope. But the other 3, again, you can go back at those videos and look at them. You can also look at promotional material online if you want to see different things. By the way, the official thing to look up if you're actually looking for ballroom dancing and how to watch more professional examples of that versus like Dancing with the Stars or So You Think You Can Dance, that's all kind of reality TV. What you want to do is you want to look up what's called open or closed. Those are the 2 types of routine styles. American style or international style. We do American style, so you'd say closed American style, and then whatever category you're looking for, smooth or rhythm. Okay, so you would look for American style closed rhythm comp, right? Which stands for competition. Okay, you want to look up competitions. Look for things like Emerald Balls, Fred Astaire Cups, things like that. Really official sounding titles. And then also you can look up specific people like Ricardo Colchi and Yuria Zagorchenko. Those are the 2-time, well, not 2-time, they're 9-time world champions now, and they're probably the best dancers that have ever existed. So those are really good examples for you. Now, as far as capping off your social knowledge, I've also prepared these graphics for you as well, okay? So the first thing that we need to understand, or really the kind of the takeaway that I want you guys to have, is what is social dancing? If you were to, over the last 2 semesters, if you were to take any of the stuff that we've learned, from the salsa, from the hustle, from the waltz, anything, the main thing that I want you to take from this is understanding what social dancing is. Exactly. What is it? And how can we use social dancing as a tool to socialize with other people? Well, what's very special about what you're learning is that it's physical, right? You're actually making a physical connection with people. And so we have different ways of explaining this, but these are kind of my 5 principles as to understanding what social dancing is. So the first one is that it has to be social, okay? So first and foremost, you have to understand that it has to be social. And in my opinion, dancing is a vehicle. It's this thing that we use to express, embody, or fulfill something. In this case, we're expressing a physical desire to be connected with one another. I mean, you're literally in tandem with another being while you're dancing. You're embodying the music that you're listening to through your expression. You're transporting this liquefied art juice, if you will, these sound waves from the ether and into physical space. And you're fulfilling both the need for that expression to be physical, but also the need for our bodies to move and to twist and to turn and bend. And all of these things combined and demonstrated within a physical space with other people doing the same is potentially the most social thing you can do, besides talking, of course. So that's what I would define as to how dancing is social. And then the second thing here is how is dance related to life? Well, the first way that it's related to life is through the way that it comes about. So you have to understand that the genesis, the conception, the start to dancing is through simple movement. Now, we move every day. We do things like walking, like shifting our weight. And you've used those rudimentary fundamentals to kind of complex and diversify into larger steps. We take steps every single day, and that's all you're really doing, which is why sometimes we refer to figures or dance patterns as steps. Now, there's this concept that the hardest step that you'll ever take in dance is the step through the front door. And all that really means, and you'll figure this out the more you socially dance, is it's our perception of ourselves in comparison to these highly stylized structures and forms that keep us from simply starting. If you start, then you've already won. And if you give dance a chance, then you'll get hooked. And you can quote me on that. Now, that's really important to understand, because if we don't start, if we don't get somewhere, right? If we don't get over our own perception of ourselves and what other people are going to think of us, then what can we accomplish? Now, the third concept in there is why do we dance socially? Why not just dance at your house or by yourself in a corner somewhere? Why would we want to dance in front of people? And the answer is kind of weird, actually, because we dance to give other people permission. And it seems kind of wrong to assume that dance is something that could be perceived as impermissible to some people, but it really is. Again, it's that perception that if we aren't experts, if we aren't savants, if we haven't spent our whole lives from toddler to teenager to some terraformed tenet of society, if we haven't spent that whole time dancing at a professional level, then we shouldn't even try. So one of the byproducts of social dancing is letting others know that they can and should get up and dance often. Fun fact about me, I was actually... my freshman year of college, my first major was psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to get a PhD in experimental psychology, actually. And what was interesting to learn about psychology is they presented this video of a dancing man. They call it the dancing man. Basically, it's like this hillside at a concert, and you see this guy, and you know, there's probably like 200 people on this hill, but you see this guy, and he starts running down the hill, right? And he's trying to get to kind of the fence where they see the concert, and he just starts dancing wildly, right? And at first people are giving him really strange looks. I mean, it's a video, so you can see all these people kind of turning their heads, scratching their heads, gossiping, whatever, but that dude is just laying it out there. I mean, he's just dancing his heart away. And other people start to realize, they're like, man, like this guy's having a good time. And so they join in. So you see 2 or 3 more people run down the hill at him, right? And they start dancing. So now you have 3 or 4 people, right? And that's a group, and that starts to catch fire. So those people are dancing, and now you see more and more people start dancing. And now they're coming in couples and triplets, right? You start seeing 3 or 4 people come at a time, entire groups of people that were sitting on their picnic blankets. And sooner or later you have like 100 people, like this mob, this crowd of people just dancing. And all it took was that one guy to run down there, because I guarantee you, and this is from my personal experience, when you go to an event where music is playing and you watch the crowd, people do not want to be the first one out on the dance floor. You'll sit the entire rest of the evening with people just sipping wine, sitting down, looking at this empty dance floor, and I've always thought that was kind of funny. So that's why we dance. We dance to give other people permission. And so the last thing that we have here is, the second to last thing that we have here is, why are the physical connections important? So that's something that I referenced earlier, which is that the unique thing about social dancing is we have these physical connections. And the reason why is because positive touch, physical touch, establishes a sense of well-being and community. Nothing says this is definitely awkward and we're in this together quite like taking 2 clammy hands and having them hold on to each other in a meaningful way, right? I mean, I'm kidding, but you really are expressing vulnerability and trust every time you establish a new partnership, simply because you're within what I like to call the circumference of breath, or this bubble of rebuttal, or the boundary of backup. You're too dang close, right? It's a wall that keeps us from being intimately personal with one another, and you can platonically break that wall down through dance. It's a beautiful thing. By doing this often, we not only integrate ourselves with the world in a more meaningful way, but we also normalize the ability to have fun physically without other implications being implied. Now, I say the word platonic. I don't know if you know what that means, but I'm going to explain it now. And this is actually something that I came to a recent realization with. I was Googling the word platonic because I say it all the time in dance class. And what I understood it to be before was just as friends, right? That's what platonic means. It means that you don't have any romantic or other implications, right? You're just spending time with somebody as friends. But the deeper meaning to that is actually that of a spiritual relationship. When I looked up the definition of platonic, it's saying that we're forming connections spiritually, not romantically, right? And there's a huge difference between those. So when you get into a room, there's this spirit of people. There's this spirit of platonicity that you're establishing, and you're doing something very physical with them through the spirit of friendship. And that, to me, is potentially one of the most powerful things you can do, because that normalizes a lot of things. There might be even concepts that we can't talk about even here, right? Because this is just a dance class. but you might realize that that's a lot more powerful than it might even seem just right now. So, and the last reason, or the last definition of social dancing is how do we build relationships through social dance? That is a huge one. Because what would all of this be for if we weren't building relationships with people, right? Why would we be so into dancing, if you will, if we weren't building relationships? This is truly the product of being social. Forming new relationships and friendships and partnerships, all these ships help deliver us to the shores of community. If you see community as this island, as this paradise, right? It's kind of this metaphor that we're all within our own boat that's being rocked around by our own ocean. And the ocean is our problems and our contextual existence as a human being, right? It's this ocean of homework and parents and friends and all these things that we have to maintain through life, right? And if we get thrown onto these shores, if you think about a beach, right? There's all kinds of things that end up on a beach. We see people end up on a beach, right? We see surfers end up on a beach. We see animals, whales even sometimes. We see garbage end up on a beach. Sometimes we see things from far distant lands, like notes in a bottle. That's a cliche. But we see objects that have made their way all the way across this ocean to this beach. And all of those things are what kind of symbolize diversity, which in my opinion is what symbolizes community, right? So if we think of community as this island, then again, these relationships, these friendships, these partnerships, all these ships deliver us to the shores of community, which in turn breeds personal clarity and acceptance. This is going to allow you as an individual to find your identity, both by just integrating with a society, but also being able to serve people. And through dance, we build those relationships in a very physical way. It's this idea that, man, we just learned something really, really hard together, right? Maybe it's East Coast Swing, maybe it's Lindy Hop, and I stepped on your toes and you kicked me in the shins a bunch, and no one really knows if we made any progress, but gosh, wasn't that fun? Nothing, and I mean nothing, touches people's spirit quite like music does. And dance is the natural response to music. And when you get into a room with other souls and respond to music together, you will naturally connect and you won't forget that experience. Dance is like this IV of soul juice that liquefies the gears within this complex mechanism that we call a body. And it's like we need that to get through everything else. And I think you'll realize that even farther as we go through life, that yeah, life is hard to get through sometimes, and building relationships with people is how we get through it, right? We can all relate with struggle, and we can all relate with our personal experiences, and being able to connect as human beings is how we do that, okay? So all of those things combined is what makes up, in my opinion, social dancing. Okay, it's not necessarily being good at the dancing, because dancing is what I would consider a skill, just like cooking or cleaning. It's something that we just need to know how to do, and we used to know how to do it a lot. It used to be a response to jazz music. Believe it or not, there was a time when people didn't have like iPods or iPhones to have music on. They didn't have any personal listening device. And so what did they do? They went out to restaurants and they listened to jazz music. And no one really wants to just sit there for 3 hours and listen. So guess what people did? They started moving. They started dancing to that jazz music. And that started a flame, right? Because then other people see that and they're like, man, I really want to learn that style. So they ask that person, what are you doing? You know, how did you get so much style? And that person then hands them their style, and that person takes that to Louisiana. Say they're in New York, that person takes it to Louisiana, and now they've got a different form of music that they like to play down there. So they're going to adapt that, and they're going to make it into something that's kind of like this New York, Louisiana fusion dance, right? And that's how social dancing started. It really was supposed to be a folk thing. It was supposed to be just a natural response and a fun thing that we do to collaborate with artists who are creating music. And the crazy thing about it is that exists in every other country except for ours right now. I mean, we have square dancing and we say that that's our state dance, but really, when's the last time you guys saw somebody square dancing, right? When's the last time you saw a group of 50 people square dancing? Or when's the last time you saw a group of 50 people doing East Coast Swing? or cha-cha or rumba or waltz? When's the last time you saw a group of 100 people or more just dancing, swing dance together and having a good time? You personally with your own two eyes in the physical space. Maybe you've seen a video, maybe you've seen, you know, a TV show, but when's the last time you saw that within your life? And in my opinion, we need to see that more. And so that's why we're so passionate about social dancing. So anyways, that's kind of a, you know, a little presentation for you guys as far as why we dance, okay? But a couple of notes before I send you on your way and kind of finish this up is this. The ball's really in your court, right? You've learned all of these dances and, you know, you obviously have other education pathways and other classes that you're participating in. But I would argue that this is potentially the skill that you can use the most, right? Because guess what? No matter where you go, you're going to be able to use your social dancing as a tool. It's kind of in your back pocket, right? When you become older and you start kind of getting into, I guess, more mature venues like I guess clubs or bars or higher end restaurants, you're going to want to have something to do. And people love it. When you get up and dance, people love it. It's that aspect of giving people permission. When people see you out there dancing, I mean, they want to be that. They want to have the skills that you have. And a lot of people are afraid of starting. They're afraid of taking that first step through the front door, which is, in my opinion, the hardest one to take. So just know that you got a really special skill ahead of you. Just know that there are ways to still continue. So even though this class is done, that doesn't mean that maybe, you know, after summertime or however, we're going to continue another class. That doesn't mean that in the works right now, I'm trying to figure out a way where we can connect multiple co-ops and we can just have kind of one unified program that homeschoolers dance through. So I'm going to be kind of going to each city and figuring out the homeschool population in that area and seeing what we can do. But for now, you can engage. Of course, we have the Social Mondays live stream, and in a couple weeks, we'll be able to start our Social Mondays class again. That's a free adult class, but there's nothing necessarily extremely adult about it, right? There's no like alcohol or anything like that, so there's no reason why you can't come to that class. There are going to be some older people there, but they definitely love to see youth dancing. And yeah, share it with your friends if you want to teach your family salsa, right? That's a great thing to do. One of the easiest ways to learn more about something is by teaching it to somebody else. So if you want to teach your mom and your dad salsa, they might even be watching this with you, which is great. Or if you have siblings that you can teach, or you can teach your dog or whoever, right? But it's going to give you, in my opinion, a really great skill to appreciate as you go through life, and hang on to that. Hang on to that, because I'm going to try to make a dent in our world as far as who's dancing, and I'm going to try to get this out to as many people as possible. But say I fail in that endeavor, well, it's really up to you, right? Because, you know, maybe 40 years from now, when this is seen as an ancient piece of history, you can say that you were there and you learned some dancing and got it done. So anyways, that's my opinion, and that's the class, guys. I'm super excited to see more from you. If you have any other questions, I'm going to kind of open it up here for a couple minutes. If you have any specific questions on certain dances, I definitely can provide that for you. But just let me know. I'm going to produce a graphic for you, and then I'll go ahead and pray you out after a couple minutes, okay? So let me know what you got. Let's see. Get that graphic going. Yeah, send out some prayer requests. If you've got, you can text me directly, or if you want to comment on the stream itself, you definitely can do that. And obviously, if you're watching this in the retrospect, because I know you got other classes going on, just let me know. But yeah, any prayer requests that you might have and any questions that you might have going forward. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Cool. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and kind of just say a prayer over everything. And if you have any more questions or prayer requests, you also can respond, by the way. You can text back on that group chat system. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if your parents want to get involved. We have a plethora of things for adults. It's really the teen program that I'm trying to get locked down on a strategy that we can provide to youth more. So, but let me pray for you. As I say, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day, Lord. And thank you for continuation. Thank you for allowing us to persevere and get through this trying time. There's been all kinds of complications due to the coronavirus, Lord, but you've just allowed us to gracefully accept that and move on. And now we're even reopening our states. So I ask that you please just continue to bless us in that, Lord. My heart's heavy for all of the people who have died because of this, and I'm also at the same time eager to start back up and get people engaged with culture again. So I ask that you please just bless anybody if they're struggling with that, Lord. If they had anybody that died or is sick in their personal life, then allow that to be reconciled and just allow us to think about those things and see how we can integrate better with each other as a community. Because at the end of the day, that's the meaning behind life, Lord, is you've given us this ability to share in fellowship. You've given us this spirit, this soul that we can connect with other people and have this fragment of the universe, a fragment of you within us. And so I ask that you just lift that up and light our flames, Lord, and let us just be even more vibrant with our connections and even more focused on community engagement and focused on helping each other out. So I ask that you please just bless us personally with happiness and peace as we go forward. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Well, good to see you, and I hope that I see you guys again. I mean, this is the last class, so obviously I realized that I might not ever. The last time we saw each other in physical class might have been the last time I'll ever see you. I hope that's not the case. I hope that you can come visit Crossway, of course, but also I hope I see you out in the community just doing your thing, kicking butt. And if you're a parent watching this as well, just feel free to reach out to me. I've already been kind of talking to Jennifer about ways that we can figure out how to make this thing even more official. I've had 2 co-ops now that I've taught, and they were great while they lasted, and we did our stuff, but then it kind of ended, and I never got to see those students again. So I want to figure out a way where we can come together more often and potentially produce a more consistent homeschool class or just a teen class that homeschoolers come to that integrates public school kids as well. That's what I'd like to see. So all of that is hopefully within the works, but I hope you all are well with this corona thing, and I hope I see you again, and God bless you. See you later.